Welcome to Lifting Leaders Podcast, where we are unleashing leader possibilities to make a better world. I'm Crystal Roberts, and together with Trisha Ryan, we're diving deeper into some of the complexities of the world's most critical challenges and exploring innovative ways of navigating through them.
Through interviews with experts and leaders just like you, we're exploring what it takes to thrive as a leader today and examining new ways of thinking about how to creatively lead into a more equitable, socially responsible, and sustainable future. And the future starts now.
Hi, Trisha. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Crystal?
I'm good. Except for the technical difficulties that we've been having. I know.
Yeah.
So any of our loyal listeners here, they probably have noticed that where have the episodes gone? So the last couple ones, they'll be flooding in. So we are actually working on that technical issue now.
And we're not marketing one over another, but if you go to Spotify, you will find them on Spotify.
Yep. Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
They should be out on anywhere people are listening.
They should be. They will be. We're just having a glitch, and it doesn't happen very often. So if you haven't been on our podcast before, or you haven't listened to us, you may not know that we put out a podcast every single week.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks, we've been having an issue. So we're getting it fixed, and then you'll have all sorts of listening material.
Yeah. All good stuff, though.
Yes.
Yeah. We had an encore that we posted because we're focusing on Thrive this year.
Yes.
And we felt like that was a really great episode to help people get in that spirit of thriving in January. Speaking of January, where did it go?
I have no idea. I just know that I remember the ball dropping in New York City.
Yes. Did you watch that this year?
I watched it after the fact. I think I went to bed at 9 o'clock or something, but now it's gone. The whole month is gone.
Yeah.
And it was a whirlwind. I know I was busy at work. We're always very busy in January. But oh my goodness, it went so fast. Our podcast episodes went really fast this last month. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But we didn't even have our theme up and running at that point. We're going to do that today.
Yeah. Yeah, we announced it. So hopefully people know, and we should give out a Starbucks card or something for somebody if they could shout to what it is. They'll know after this one, though, because we're going to go
It'll
into
be
depth
too
about
late.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, too late.
We'll have to think up something like that, though, as we get closer to summer.
Yeah.
We'll have a challenge for you, and whoever comes in first will get Starbies.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I love that we kicked the year off with Ditch the Ditty. That was so much fun.
Yes.
And then we also had Carla Andrazik on, which was fabulous. So it's been a good month.
I love her energy. And actually, I love Lindsay's energy too.
Yeah.
It was just... It's
been
that's
high energy
probably
month.
why. Yeah, it's probably why it went so fast, because we were having fun.
Yeah.
And it seems like, time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. So heading into February, the other thing that's made things very intense, I would say, is the political environment.
Yes.
And if you listen to our podcast, you know we are not a political podcast, but we felt like we did want to address the climate and what things are happening right now. And just to let you know, our listeners, that we stay committed to our values, the mission and the vision of Lifting Leaders Podcast. And our vision is to unleash leader possibilities to make a better world.
Our purpose is elevating leaders' capabilities to positively leverage the impact they have on the world's most critical challenges through energizing and unleashing the power of every voice.
And that every voice is so important. And so we will be talking about this year, just like we have in the past years, equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging. They're all really important. They are the key to making a better world.
They absolutely are. And, I'm going to just backstep for a second on what you said, that everyone is the key. Everybody leads. We believe that.
Yeah.
And everybody's voice matters. And I think that's where it's been hard for me the last few weeks, is that I feel that very few voices matter to those very few, but they happen to be the loudest voices in the room. And so the problem is that this stuff is challenging, and just trying to find some place to make it right. And I'm just not able to get there. So I'm okay with the fact that I'm not okay, because I don't want to be okay right now. I don't feel like this is, I don't think that fairness comes into play. I don't think that equity, diversity, inclusion, or belonging come into play, but they will always come into play on this podcast. And I'm never going to stop doing that. I think it's important, and I know that you are completely committed to it, not only in your work, but in your life. You know, it is a big part of your family. So it's just important. And I want our podcast listeners to know that, you know, however you're feeling right now, you know, I don't know what your political views are, but if you're not okay with what's going on, it's okay, and keep listening, because our goal this year is to focus on ways to help people boulder through, navigate, and manage their own feelings, your own feelings, our own feelings, as we have to deal with all the changes and challenges that are ahead of us. Right?
Yeah. And we aren't going to shy away from the term climate change either.
No, not at all. In fact, we're probably going to have a bunch of environmentalists on here.
Yeah. So we know that in order to be able to navigate this year, which can feel incredibly emotion-filled, you know.
Heavy.
Very heavy. We can feel angry. We can feel despair. There's a lot of different emotions that we as leaders have to take care of ourselves first. And I love that saying about putting our own oxygen mask on first. And then I wish I could recall, so I could cite them, where I heard this other explanation as well, which is even going one step further and being the kind of person that can recognize when somebody needs to put on their oxygen mask.
Yes.
So I want to be that kind of a person that I can recognize in the people around me, even when they can't put on their own oxygen mask, is making sure that I can help them put that on. Awareness,
right?
Yeah.
It's being aware of your surroundings, being empathic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We've talked about empathy in the past. We've talked about, you know, being highly sensitive people or highly sensory people.
Yeah.
And that's so important, especially now, I think, for us to tap into those strengths that we have that bring the sensitivity out, that bring the empathy out, that bring the, you know, just that navigating your surroundings and figuring out who needs what.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of me, and who else needs help, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
How we show up, we know, matters. Being the example, being the point of reference matters as a leader. Yes. And when we can do that, then we can also help our team.
You know, I had a wonderful instructional development program that I went through many years ago. And one of the instructors was saying that a leader is basically the holder of the umbrella. So as things come down that you don't expect, as the world gets hit by, you know, snow, sleet, rain, whatever you want to call it, a leader's job is to hold that umbrella and to keep their people or the people around them close so that they're sheltered from the same stuff. And it's sort of that same thing in a way. It's like cast a shadow. And that shadow is a strong leader, a strong, resilient, empathic, you know, nurturing person will get people who will do the same thing. You know, the people that follow you will do the same thing because they have an example. They have a point of reference. And if they don't do the same thing, then they have different beliefs. And are they really followers?
Yeah.
Right?
Gosh, and when you said the shadow, I was thinking, I wonder if it's actually like a sunbeam.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah. Casting
Brightness.
some light and some brightness in the dark times. Yeah.
I like that better. I like it much better.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we do believe, even though this is challenging, we do believe we can still thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that we do thrive, that we continue the really good practices that we hopefully have learned along the way to help us continue to thrive so that we can lead all the things that need to happen, the actions that need to happen to make a better world.
So in case you haven't gotten the hint here, our theme for the whole year, for the whole season, is Thrive in 25, right? We're thriving in 25. And we've got some plans on how we're gonna manifest that, right?
Yep. So one of the things that we are going to do is each month we've actually
haven't
gone
decided
round and round on this one.
We're thinking about, but we're not quite sure.
We think it's every month, but we might be a little flexible on it.
Yeah.
We are taking the letters of thrive and having words that connect to those letters.
So using Thrive as an acronym,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And we'll shift those throughout the year. So, and this will be the focus for that month or 6 weeks for a period of time.
And one of the things that we are, when we were looking up the words that we wanted to use for this acronym, because there will be multiple words for each of the letters throughout the year, but we looked for words that encourage or embody wellness, right? And strength. And so
and beginnings.
And yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And future focus. And we think it's important for you to be looking at those positive and hopeful words than, looking for, just a strong word.
Yeah.
Because I could put truck in the T, but I don't think it's going to mean anything.
Yeah. So we're going to share those for February. We're going to share those now. And the first one, no one will be surprised what we chose for the first one. So T is transformation and how we're defining transformation. And we got a little help from ChatGPT on this. Is a profound change in form, character, or function. And so what a great way to start a year is to think about, where am I at now and where do I want to be? What's the transformation that I want to actually make? Yeah.
I love that. The second word, or the second word that actually takes care of H in Thrive, is another one that you should probably not be too surprised about because we've only been doing research on it for 2 years, and that is hope.
Yeah.
And the way we define hope is a belief in positive outcomes or the possibility of a better future. And I think that, to me, that is a great definition for hope. And we're going to have other definitions for hope as we unpack our research. We're getting ready to work on the analysis of all of that information we've collected in the last 2 years. And I'm excited about doing that too. That's very hopeful for me.
Yeah. Hope is just the foundation, the starting place.
Yes.
Yeah. So the third letter is R. And so we chose the word reflection. The definition for that is the process of thinking deeply about experiences, ideas, or oneself.
Yeah.
We really know that that's the start also of insight. It's the start of being able to take action, to start moving towards that transformation. Reflection, the self-reflection, thinking about, where am I now?
Yeah, it's also it's a great source if we need healing, right? If we're in search of healing, looking at where we are and where we've been and where we want to be, right?
Yeah.
The I in thrive, the word that we've chosen, is investment, which we define as the allocation of resources, time, effort, money, for future gain. And I think resources there are a lot of things that come in play when it comes to resources. It's not just about money. It's not just about things, right?
Yeah.
Investing in ourselves, investing knowledge or investing information so that we build knowledge. The more informed we are, the better decisions we make, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really almost intentionality.
Yes.
It's
That's
like,
great.
where are we putting our money? Where are we investing time? Are we taking time to develop ourselves?
Paying attention.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And then where are we investing in others? Yeah.
And that's a key we're going to talk about too, is like, not just about how do we personally thrive, but how do we help others thrive? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So important. The next one, V, visualization. And again, another great starting word, right? The mental process of creating images or scenarios to guide actions. And that can be done in so many different ways.
Yeah.
My daughter Madison and I, we put together vision boards for this year, and that was really fun. But you can even use visualization just as an exercise of just closing your eyes and thinking about what is it that you really want in this moment, in this month, in this year. It can even be a visualization of what do you want out of that presentation, or what do you want out of that communication?
Yes.
It's like the action. What is the action that you want? And then practice that in your mind and use that as visualization exercise for that.
Visualization exercises are great in meditation or meditative moments, because sometimes people, your mind's going to wander anyway, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do a focused meditation, you could think about, where am I going? What do I want to do? Where do I see myself at the end of this year, right? What do I want? What do I want my next thing to be?
Yeah.
What do I want to look like? What do I want people to think of me at the end of this year, differently than where they are right now? You could do all sorts of things.
What do I want to think about myself? Who do I want to be?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I want to show up? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very connected to that reflection exercise. Yeah.
And the E in thrive, the word that we've chosen, is enlightenment, which goes along with all the other words that we've just talked about. But the definition that we have is a state of deep understanding, awareness, or spiritual awakening. And enlightenment really is, it's like turning on the light, right? It's like opening up the mind, moving from fixed to growth. There's so many ways you can actually envision enlightenment.
Yeah.
I love it. I love when I learn something new, and not just learning it, but seeing how it interacts with other things in my world, how knowing that has just increased my knowledge of something else or expanded my thinking about something else. To me, enlightenment is that. It's like, wow, I really understand it better.
Yeah.
Or I feel more committed to whatever that is, because now I see how it fits into my world, right?
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yep. We have, so all of those are our thrive words. And I think this year we're going to be looking at interviewing based on the words that we choose in our thrive acronym.
Yeah.
Which I think will be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. So you'll hear from how our speakers are thinking about and thriving in their lives in 2025 as well.
Do we want to talk about our overall relationships of the words that we chose? Do we want to think about that?
Sure.
Okay, so we wanted to find out if, we didn't want to find out. We kind of know, but we wanted to see what ChatGPT thought about it. We wanted to find out what the relationship is between the words that we've chosen for thrive. And so overall, we chose that hope, motivates investment and visualization.
And visualization aids transformation and enlightenment.
Reflection deepens understanding and drives change.
And transformation leads to growth and often enlightenment.
So the words interconnect in a way, and we think that's important to note because it's not choosing random words that you're going to have to think separately about. I think if you think about one, you will find yourself actually, moving through the others.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah. So this month, I'll just say one more time: transformation, hope, reflection, investment, visualization, and enlightenment. And through those words and that path, we hope that helps you, and we'll continue to talk about how using those words can help sort of guide, inspire us, and maybe move us to action around thriving.
We have a website, and we always talk about it at the close, so we'll give the address at the close. But on the website, if you want to contact us, and tell us how this is landing with you, and if there's something that maybe is bugging you that you want us to at least think about, like we said, we're not a really political podcast, and so other things that may be an offshoot of a political issue may be bothering you, or you may see some hope in it, and we'd love to hear that too. We'd love to hear what you're thinking of and what's going on in your world, so that maybe it's something that we can talk about during our podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sort of looking at a meta message around this thrive is, in order for us to thrive and for us as leaders to help others thrive, there's really a couple of things that we wanted to talk about today. And one of them is a feeling of safety. And we know that there are a lot of people out there that are not feeling very safe right now. And when we are not feeling safe, we tend to be functioning more with fight or flight,
yes,
or freeze or fawn, or the other two. But we hear mostly people talk about the fight or flight. And this can show up in a lot of different ways. And it can be that we ourselves are not safe. It could be that we don't feel that it's safe to talk about certain things. Trisha and I even had that conversation before we started the podcast today. What do we feel safe talking about?
Right.
What's appropriate for us to be talking about? Or it might be that we are just subject to that, right? We know of somebody who's in an unsafe situation. We have to make our own choices in life around where we take action.
Right.
And we hope that you will follow your own values around that. And we also know that in order to thrive, we have to have that self-awareness around when we are running around in flight or fight, when we're in fear, when we're not feeling safe, and what's the impact it's having on our life.
Right.
And then where we can, and we also recognize that for some of us, this is privilege. Where can we make choices that will allow us to be more safe?
Yes.
And what's reality for us and what is not? So the example I'm thinking about is, and this is a big one, monitoring our intake of social media and what we're watching on TV. So, and again, I recognize that comes with privilege to be able to do that. And it's different for each of us. But where are we? We may be experiencing a sense of lack of safety when we're actually, in that moment, we are safe. And so in those moments of safety, in those moments of peace, that's where our creativity, that's where our innovation, that's where our feeling of thriving, our feelings of hope, that's where the transformation can come, those moments of enlightenment.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking, when we're talking about keeping yourself safe and making sure that you're monitoring yourself, remember that it really shouldn't have anything to do with judgment. And so, you not being judged for whatever decision you make is really important. And so I'm just throwing that out there. But something else that I think about is when it comes to social media and news, as you're watching it, I know for me, I get stressed lately.
Yeah.
Lately, every time I turn on television, which I don't do as much right now, and social media just never seems to go away, but I'm trying to avoid certain areas of social media so that I don't have to be stressed anymore, because I get enough of that in the world. I don't need to have that too.
Yeah.
Because what it does to me is it's not the stress of, well, it is the stress of what's going on right at the moment for other people and what that might mean for me down the line. But that's what's the stress for me, is like, what is next? What is the next? And my head will go and spin stories of negativity because I don't know. And that's what happens with change, right? Whenever there's change or something different, a challenge, we go to the negative side of it before we ever see the positive a lot of times. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And I never thought I was that kind of person to be, thinking the doom and gloom of it before I thought of the positive or hope of it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm finding myself finding it harder to look at it as the possibilities, when instead I'm thinking, oh dear, what does this mean? Yeah. And I'm worried for people around me. I'm worried for people who I work with. I'm worried for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And it's just sad. So I love that you mentioned social media and TV and taking care of yourself there. Because if it is stressful, then that maybe is a habit that you can let go of for a while, right?
Yeah. Because if we're finding ourselves emotionally flooded, if we're finding ourselves overwhelmed, we can't think of the possibilities. We can't think of the actions that we can take to be living in alignment with our values. Yeah. So that's our challenge to you, is to think about, where can you find moments of peace? Where can you sort of surround yourself with some safety, not putting your head in the sand, but monitoring and paying attention and being self-reflective to say, how much of this can I take in and how much do I need to sort of shut it down so that I can thrive.
Yeah.
And so that I can show up the best that I can for myself as a leader and be a good example, as well as for my people.
So you're talking about the oxygen mask moment, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself. And by doing that, it's going to be easier, I think. Once you realize that you're breathing well, that you're able to breathe, then you can look around you and see how other people are doing, because that awareness of others and what's going on with them is so important. As leaders, we're all leaders, but one of the things we can do as leaders is touch base with others, right?
Yeah.
Just stop by and, how are you doing? Yeah. Let's go to coffee. Let's do something different, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to do some sketching this afternoon, and I have a friend who loves to sketch, and she's, right now feeling a little lonely. So I think I might just invite her over to do some sketching with me, because, it's just something different to do, and we can do things that are positive. And if the sketch comes out to be something that doesn't seem so positive, maybe that's a way of getting it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about journaling.
Yeah.
It's another way to express some of our feelings, to sort of get back in alignment.
Get it out of your head and onto paper.
Yeah.
And then if you want to get rid of it, either burn it in the fireplace or tear it up and throw it in the trash, or, shred it or whatever you do. But you can do that.
Yeah.
Letting go of stuff is okay. If it's, just write it down, write everything that's bugging you and just throw it away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And maybe there's a letter that needs to be written.
A letter to my future self or my past self, or what?
Or to your local congressman, or your mayor, or your school board, or
yes.
I was thinking about, one of the other things the other piece to this is focusing on the things that are good and focusing on people's strengths and your own strengths and where can you employ them. Maybe you write a teacher just a beautiful note that says, and you might not even know who that person is, but you know there's this teacher that's at the elementary school or the high school or whatever in your local area, and you just appreciate them coming to work every day.
Yep.
Maybe you drop off a Starbucks card. I mean, there's little acts of kindness that we can do to help people that we may not even know.
It reminds me of something that one of our past guests is doing this year. She's practicing 365 days of gratitude. And I like what you said because it puts our minds on a positive spin. And gratitude is pretty much the highest thing on the pinnacle in a way. You know, when you get to a point where you can be grateful for others and what they're doing and what they bring to the world, it takes you completely out of your space, your negative space, because you're concentrating on something that is so good, right? And that makes you feel good. I know that when I give gratitude to other people, I feel better.
Yeah.
You know, I really do. I feel like, wow, you know, I need to do that more, you know? It's great.
Yeah. And it does help to make a better world, right?
Mm-hmm,
For that person and that moment, you may have just made their whole week. Yeah.
You may have just made everything to them.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many people in the world, and I'm just going to get on my soapbox about that for a second. And there are so many people in the world who don't have anybody even talk to them.
Yeah.
And I think about our elderly people or people who are maybe challenged and nobody, in an effort not to make a spectacle, they won't even look at people like in a wheelchair or something. And I think that is so sad because these are people who have minds and thoughts and their own beliefs and creativity and all sorts of stuff too. And, you know, just appreciating what they bring to the world. And if not, find out who they are. Get to know them. Spend a moment, right? Yeah. You are also getting out of yourself in that moment. But the way you're going to feel after you have a connection like that is phenomenally better than the way you felt before, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So how can we, in these challenging times, be a source of light for other people? Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the same time, taking care of yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And as you were just saying, part of taking care of ourselves is giving to other people. Yeah.
It's community.
It's community. And that's where we can truly have an impact in our neighborhood, in our community, in our local schools. There's lots of needs out there, and we can make a difference. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So this next week, this next month, this next year, we're focusing on Thrive. We hope that you enjoy this focus and this ride along with us. And I know for me, I'm going to write these words up on a Post-it and put them in a place that I see them every day to help remind me of what I want to focus on and have an intentionality around this of thriving.
I'm going to do the same thing, and I think I'm going to try and make some art that kind of embodies it a bit. I like to do visual stuff a lot, and it's becoming a favorite thing for me to do and a way to navigate things that aren't so wonderful. So I'm excited about seeing where I go with that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and definitely, and you said this earlier, Tricia, let us know how it's going for you. We would love to, as we were just talking about limiting social media, let's make our social media a point of light. And that is actually something I've heard recently where people are being really careful about curating their social media. So what comes to them is positive. And so don't necessarily throw the whole thing out, but use it as a point of inspiration. So we would love to hear, use us. We would love to hear how you're doing, how you're thriving.
So think we ought to keep this conversation going?
I think we should.
Okay. So if you have questions or comments about the show, you can find us on all our social media channels at lifting_leaders. We have so many exceptional podcast episodes coming up around Thrive this year with more fantastic guests. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. If you know someone who would find this episode inspiring, share it with them. Text them, email them, or take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram and tag us at lifting_leaders. If you'd like to know more about us, our guests, or the show, please go to our website at liftingleaderspodcast.com. You'll find our show notes there as well. If you're looking for help in developing your leaders or would like a growth opportunity yourself through leader coaching, please contact us through our website at www.liftingleaderspodcast.com. Thank you to Ari Chance Roberts for his technical support of our show. Finally, please take 30 seconds and follow us. It helps you because you never miss an episode, and it helps us because you never miss an episode. To follow us, go to the Lifting Leaders Podcast Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click the follow. While you're there, if you'd be willing to give us a 5-star rating and review and share the episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful. Crystal, thank you. It was a great episode.
Yeah, thank you, Trisha.
Many thanks to all of you, our listeners. We hope to hear from you. We appreciate you more than you know. Find ways every day to lift each other up. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Trisha. Oh.
I knew that was going to happen. Whoa. Okay.